SoundCloud. Let's connect to Facebook.
So I need to go and share it, right?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if you can all see us yet. Sometimes it takes a minute. We are live. Hello, everyone. I am here with Paul Bashea Williams. Super excited about tonight. We are sharing to our pages so we can reach as many people as possible. And we are live. Hey, Paul.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on my 31 days of healthy relationship tips that just came to me.
That's cool. That's cool. No problem. No problem.
Thank you. I know you are extremely busy.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit the ground running with your tour of Dear Future Wife at this point. Am I correct?
It's the mental health stuff, working with men specifically. Of course, my wash machine is just making all types of noise. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
But yeah, doing the stuff with men, especially, and specifically dealing with some of the things that we might not address in public, but creating private spaces where we can just talk about it. And it's been overwhelmingly, in a good way, positive feedback, and men are really coming to talk about what they're dealing with. So it's been cool.
Awesome. Congrats to you.
Thank you.
We know now people are actually starting to log in and check us out. So everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm here tonight with Paul Bashea Williams, who is a licensed clinical social worker and an author and speaker. At this point, international speaker.
Yes.
International speaker, author of Dear Future Wife. And he is on a mission to make sure that men and women, but primarily men, get the information that they need regarding mental health and taking better care of themselves.
Right.
And so we're on this journey of 31 days of healthy relationship tips. And Paul is joining me tonight to kind of help you get it right. And he has homework for you. He made that clear last night.
Right.
So, Paul, before we really jump into it, can you tell people about your practice, a little bit more about you, if you don't mind, and then we'll jump right into the tips for everyone.
Sure. Like you said, I'm Paul Bashea Williams. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in Maryland and DC in private practice. I own and operate Hearts and Mind Counseling, which is the acronym is HIM, which is him. My focus is a lot on relationships, him in a relationship, him by himself. The youngest I have is 5, the oldest I have is 76. So that's what I primarily do when I work with in my practice. But I do see a wide range of all different types of mental illness or just mental health things that we're working on. I'm also the author, like you said, of Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. And my focus is on giving us men some tools of healing and showing up differently in relationships. And it's also a reference for women to understand a man better and really understand how we operate in dynamics, in the dynamic of a relationship, and also how we operate within ourselves and just show up better. So it's not just a good read, it's also a workbook you can work with yourself and your partner.
Do you have a copy with you that you can hold up for the people?
Sure. Of course. Let's see.
Good stocking stuffers, y'all.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Overwhelming response to the book, which has been good. Not just the typical reader, but also clinicians have used it in their practice, which has been awesome. So again, it's a guide. It's an opportunity to really work on some of the things that may be hidden in your way that you operate in relationships.
Awesome. And so can you talk a little bit about your work with couples?
Sure. So I work with a lot of couples, and we kind of get down to the core of what's happening. Whether it's something that happened before they got into a relationship, maybe it's unspoken words that they need to, or messages that they need to speak to each other.
Mhm.
And we get back to a state of dating, because I think we get comfortable in relationships and we forget the things that other person likes. We forget to really pay attention to the things that provide healthy connection and really understanding. We lose patience, we lose understanding, we lose opportunities for the relationship to grow in a positive way. So I give homework with my clients, with my couples, because I don't want you to work on something and then you go home, you have 5 days or 6 days in between you seeing us, and then all you can do is wait until the next session to talk about what happened in between. So you're kind of like telling on each other.
Exactly.
So yeah, we do homework, and some of the homework is individual, and then we bring it to the session together and kind of figure out how you've been showing up in a relationship and what you like and what you need.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a big one. I think homework is very important. You do have couples that sometimes they'll come in and it's like they've been holding it all week,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they haven't kind of let it rip on one another. They wait until the session and go, let me tell you what they did this week. And
Right.
then before you know, you're starting all over saying, okay, let's bring it back to, step one and let's get this right.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that, because it's timely, especially for what we're going to discuss tonight in terms of your area, looking at, when people take advantage of one another in relationships, when
Right.
it's lopsided. I think that's what you had called it, that
Yeah.
lopsided, that imbalance that happens, and then people are not feeling like they're getting what they need in that relationship. And how do you bring that back to a place of stability, or get it to a place of stability if it never existed?
Right.
Yeah. And so talk about what you're bringing to the table tonight, because we have people who are, they're logging in. We have 14 people on already.
Okay.
And so talk a little bit about what it looks like when it is lopsided and when there is an imbalance with a couple.
So I think a lot of times when relationships become lopsided, it's a lack of communication, or you're not communicating the right things to your partner. And I think during the dating stages, we ask each other what you like, we ask each other what you need in a relationship, but sometimes we're not genuine. Sometimes we're just catering to the other person because you want to stay in relationship or you want to stay with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so you put your needs aside to make sure they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you get to the point where you're afraid to communicate, hey, this doesn't work for me. Can we kind of figure out how to make this relationship better, where I feel like my needs are being met and some of my wants are being met as well? And I talk about communicating from a deficit, because I think we get to the point where you're communicating that you're telling somebody that they never do something, or you never do this. I'm always doing this and you're never doing this, as opposed to talking about what you need from them, as opposed to talking about, hey, this would be better for me if we did more of this. That way.
I remember you talked about this on Sister Circle.
Yeah.
Actually, even I never put it that way, but I like how you posed it, where you said, come at it from a place of a deficit.
Right.
To help them understand truly what is lacking,
Right.
and the importance of it being present in the relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, we talk about all the things that aren't happening. We never mention what we need. So the person who hears that is defensive. And now, instead of me addressing what you need, I'm addressing the times that I felt like I met that. So like you're saying, I never did this. Like, how many times have couples come in and said, what do you mean I never do this? Like, we never. So I've never, ever done this. And now we're recounting the times that I did it, as opposed to saying it's not happening enough, or I wish it would happen more.
Yeah, that's important. It's almost like looking at it from that perspective of when you take an exam. Yeah. And when I'm talking to students and I start to try to quiz them, I'll say, what's the key word in there? They'll say, all, sometimes, never, least, most. And if we can get couples to actually communicate from that perspective and say, okay, when I'm listening, what key word did I hear?
Right.
And when I'm communicating, what words am I using?
Right.
So that they understand exactly what I'm saying. Because we have to be careful not to use those words never and always. And most of the time when it's probably one.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's good information.
Yeah. Because the lopsided happens, and once it happens and it begins to become routine in relationship,
Mm-hmm.
And then one person gets to the point, the person who isn't receiving enough, now it's just like, okay, I'm bringing it up to you now when we could have been addressed. It could have been addressed earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, at the time of with low level emotion. So now, again, nobody's offensive, and we can really talk about it and say, well, I thought that's what you liked.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to do that, but I also would like to receive something in return. You know,
Mm-hmm.
where's the balance? Like, or like for you to do more things. So it doesn't seem like one person is doing more than the other across the board. Now, there is, of course, balance where someone might be better at one thing
Right.
than the other person, but that does not mean that the person that is not better can't contribute to that.
That's
So
right.
you don't be totally hands off and say, well, you got it, because maybe, you know, I got it, but maybe I just need you to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to do anything, but I need you beside me. I need you present because this is
Mm-hmm.
happening for us.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about it, being done from the very beginning, right? So can you go back to the beginning when we started this discussion? Because you made a comment and you said the person at that point is not being genuine
Mm-hmm.
because they're asking the questions about what do you need, but they're not clear about what they actually need on their side.
Right, right.
So do you think it's that they're really not genuine, or they're not honest about what they need as well?
So, and that becomes the difference between wordplay. So genuine and honest, like how
Mm-hmm.
they, because they can be genuinely doing the things for them, but
Mm-hmm.
not be genuine in what they expect or what they would like in return, or not
Mm-hmm.
genuine in how the relationship should be. Because you can be honest with that, but you also have to be honest and genuine with your needs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have that conversation and you can say, hey, I'm genuine in helping you with this, but I don't want to get to this point where this is all this relationship is.
Mm.
So
Because
that's
how you start off is pretty much how you kind of finish if you're not careful.
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you get people to be clear about what it is that they need? Because a lot of people go into relationships with the mindset of they just kind of they already have a helping spirit or a helping mentality. So
Mhm.
they feel like they're going into that relationship, women in particular, going in thinking that they're going to save,
Mhm.
the man, or take care of him from the very beginning.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, it sets the precedence for how things are done.
Mhm.
And sometimes they don't end up getting their needs met because maybe they have on this cape that I'm
Mhm.
okay, I'm doing what I need to do for my relationship.
Mhm.
How do you get them to understand the importance of saying, okay, I do need A, B, C through Z? Because some of them don't even know how to recognize that they have needs until they start to see somebody else's highlight reel, or
Mhm.
something goes wrong and they realize that they didn't get the response that they wanted. So
Mhm.
how do you get them to understand what they need before it gets to that point?
Right. And I think that happens with both, to be honest with you, because I've
Mm-hmm.
seen many men in my practice who said, you know,
Yeah.
they had the cape on. And
Mm-hmm.
my biggest thing is, and I even wrote about it, is like you have to burn your cape so you can fly. So, but
Mm-hmm.
what that is that initially you really have to know yourself. You have to know your capacity. You know what you're willing to give. You know what you're willing and what you need to receive in order to continue to give, because you have to match that. And so I think sometimes people go into relationships wanting to be in relationship at any cost. So that's where that comes from. A lot of times people say that I want to give because I feel like somebody should be giving to me. But you never asked or you never communicated what you
Mm-hmm.
need from someone else, because you don't
Mm-hmm.
really understand what you need from yourself.
Right.
Because I can be able to give and be okay and not depend on the response. So my giving,
Mm-hmm.
not contingent on a response. And I think people get caught up in that and then wait, and you know, they expect, like, I'm doing all these things for you to marry me.
Mm.
I'm doing all these things for you to commit to this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
When you should be doing all things because that's what you want to do. You should be doing these things because that's what people do in relationships. And then look at the level of relationship that you're dealing with, and also communicate those things of what that other person that says, you know, as we're doing this thing, what are we contributing to the relationship, as opposed to, am I doing this just for this person? Or am I
Mm-hmm.
doing this for the relationship to be strong? Am I doing this for
Mm-hmm.
the relationship to last a long period of time, to move to the next level? Because the
How do
person will disappoint you, and then what? And then you want to
you,
throw the whole relationship away.
that catastrophic thinking? It's like
Yeah.
it's all or nothing. Um, Talk about how do you get somebody to a place of humility? where they're willing to pull back those layers of understanding that it's not all about them, and that sometimes you have to be vulnerable and be willing to put on new skin, basically.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of self-work, of course, right? To
Mm-hmm.
get to that point of being vulnerable,
That's
because
hard. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody
right,
wants to talk about themselves.
right, right, right. And I think it's difficult. It is a lot of work, and of course, it's on an individual basis. But you
Mm-hmm.
think somebody who needs to do the work to say that I'm vulnerable, I'm here, and know. But the biggest thing is to being able to trust yourself. So we had a whole segment where I spoke last weekend, and a guy was talking about trust. Like, you can't trust, and he didn't even realize that he was trusting everybody in that room. So I had him pause for a
Wow.
second. I said, everything you're sharing right here, you don't know anybody in here. You're trusting yourself that this information, that you'll be okay, regardless of what the response, regardless of what people say, regardless of who's looking at you, you're
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like, that's the level of trust that you have. So recognize that trust in yourself, and again, communicate that, when I share my vulnerabilities, this is what I can't accept.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not sharing this for you to rescue me. I'm not sharing it for you to take advantage of me. I'm not sharing this for you to respond in a way that feel like you're obligated to take care of me.
Right.
But I'm sharing because I want to be open, and I want this relationship to be an open relationship where we can share and it can be safe, and we can
Mm-hmm.
talk about these things within our relationships.
Right. That trust is a big one.
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the hugest things that, couples have to go through, is that, they, like you said, they get into these relationships, or we all get into these relationships, and you go, okay, I'm connecting because I like how they look. I like the way they make me laugh. I like the way they make me feel. And then when stuff really starts to kind of come together and you start peeling back those layers like that onion, you
Mm-hmm.
realize it's way more to that person, and there's way more to you than you ever considered.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have to deal with you and learning a whole other person.
Right, right, right. That is so true. That
You
is so
know,
true.
and
And
that's a challenge, because it's like, wait, I didn't sign up for this. Like, no, you did.
yes, you
You
did.
did sign up for that. And one of the things I would say that my husband taught me was that you're ever evolving,
Yeah,
never the same person. That was something I had to learn. And I was the counselor.
right.
In my mind, no, it's gonna be the same. It's just perfect all the way through. And I was like, wait, he just rained on my parade. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I had to learn that. And that was hard, because I
Yeah.
had to deal with me and him.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, I have couples in my practice that they've been married for 20 years, and we do a couple of exercises, have a couple of sessions. And they're like, I never knew that about you, because we never asked those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we never communicate the different needs and the different likes, because we're just going with the flow. And we don't want to disrupt anything.
Mm.
So if
Say that again.
if we don't want to disrupt everything, if I tell you I like this, or if I just go with what you like, because a lot of times people come into relationships, like, even when people say, like, I'm already a wife or I'm already a husband,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be their wife and their husband.
That's right.
You have to be their girlfriend and their boyfriend, their fiance, and you really need to pay attention to them and really have those real conversations with them, and not wait until something happens and you learn something in a negative way out of a negative experience. It's like, well, I never liked that anyway. Why didn't you say anything? I thought you would know. You should know. No, I only know what you tell me.
No crystal balls, y'all.
Yeah.
No crystal balls, no magic wands. You
Right.
have to have a discussion.
Right.
And that's really what these 31 days is about, is helping people to start get to a place where you can foster communication in your relationship.
Right.
Start thinking about things that you haven't thought about, have the courage to sit down and have a discussion, and let it be a safe place to do so.
Right.
And like I said last night, is that, I didn't know what I was going to do. It came to mind. I was like, nah. And the next thing I was like, I can't shake it. So I better do something. Who do I know that can give amazing information? And I just start reaching out to y'all. So let me say thank you again.
My pleasure. My
Thank
pleasure.
you. And, I just want people to be helped. We have 8 minutes left, Paul, because I want to respect your time. And so let's just see who has said what. We have Erica, Latasha, Francis, Dr. Candace, Amy, Brenda, Naila, Natalie, Alshanithia. Forgive me if I messed up your name. I'm sorry. Tasha, Moet. I have folks on here from back home, my Harlem people. Hey, y'all. And Mary from Brooklyn. And so Latasha says couples don't want to disrupt anything. She's putting out what you wrote. Go deep, let's disrupt the patterns. Having the courage to sit down and have that discussion. Francis says the differences between people, they mean a lot. Basically, you got to pay attention to those things.
Yeah.
And Dr. Candace says, yes, it's a difference what you want to do versus doing what you feel like you have to do in that relationship.
Right.
And so lastly, Francis wrote, natural nurturers typically go without their needs being met because, and then she wrote, we don't verbalize what we need or fully understand what that is.
Yeah, and it takes a while for us to do that,
Yeah.
again, because we're focused on helping others.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, just in research and just in working with clients, a lot of stuff comes from them not receiving it or us not receiving it at a younger age or at some point in our lives. And just like, let me give it because this is what I needed. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like how I felt.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for saying that part about, as a child, because there are a lot of people who bring into their current relationships who they have been all of these years and what they have encountered. And so how you have responded to conflict over the years, how you have been in other relationships, friendships, family relationships, whatever it is, you carry that stuff with you.
Right.
And although you say, I'm going to do something different,
right.
Unless you deal with you, we know that it's going to carry over and it's going to influence your relationship. It's going to influence how you see yourself and how you even function in that relationship.
Yeah.
So Latasha said, good stuff, Paul.
Thank you. But I did want to say something. So, when we're talking about the stuff that we need from our significant others, from our partner, and I think we come from a fear-based approach. Like we fear that I will lose this person if I tell them what I need.
That's true.
As opposed to thinking that I'm going to tell them what I need because I want this relationship to last. Like I want to be healthy. I don't want to be, upset. I want to hold grudges. I want to be resentful. Like I want you to really know me. I want to really know you. And I want to know if you have the capacity to meet my needs because I want to make sure that I have the capacity to meet yours. And again, if you start that from the foundation and you have those conversations early, they become easier to have along the way. Because you've established what that means and how you guys communicate. And then when something comes up, it's like, hey, let's have a conversation about it.
Something that me and my husband do periodically is called temperature checks or check-ins, where we just kind of simply say, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Are you happy? Just to kind of make sure we're good.
Right.
And for the most part, if we're bothered by something, even if we need a timeout, we have to come back to the table and talk about it, whether we feel like it or not.
Right.
But one of the things that I think is so important is that, like you said, you have to learn how to do it in the very beginning.
Right.
And I think if you can just elaborate for them, what does that look like when it's time to sit down and say, hey, I need to talk? Because we know people have things to say. We know that it has to be addressed, but not everyone knows how to deliver that message. And therefore, they run the risk of being shot down or shut down.
Right.
And so can you give them some tips on how to maybe approach their mates when it is time to have those discussions? Or even if they sense that there's a concern, how do you make it safe for them to feel like it is okay to talk?
Right. So one of the things that you said that you do and your husband do is very important. I think check-ins are very important. Not when you think something is going on all the time, but just check-ins in general. And while, one person may seem like it's annoying or we're always checking in, but it's important to check in. And not when you're checking in from an insecure place, like you good, like the constant thing. But I think Dr. Reginald Cunningham, I don't know if he's going to be on your thing, but he says 3 things to his couples. I just remember one of them, but I think it's 2 of them. Have I offended you this week in any way? Have I done anything that maybe disrupts how you feel about me? Was 2 good questions that he has. I know there's more, but I think, again, low level, when the communication, when you guys are just okay, there's nothing really going on, and just do check-ins.
Right.
Or, hey, how can I help you this week? What can I do this week to make your week easier? If there's something going on, just like, hey, can we talk about what I need from you this week? You just bring up the different things, and you can even set, like, I even have couples set up different things, different topics to talk about once a week.
I think that's good. And then also being on that other side where you can help them understand the importance of being ready to hear what is said.
Right.
Because you're asking, but are you ready to receive that information? And then what are you going to do with it once you hear it?
Right. And I think a lot of times couples communicate from the historical data and the experiences, as opposed to paying attention to what's happening right now, because somebody can work on a reframe of how they communicate their need, but the person who is defensive still hears the last time they heard it.
That's right.
And then, so I think a lot of times I come in and I say, well, I know there's this experience and this history, but I want you to really stay right here. And let's just try to keep it within this conversation right here.
Okay.
And just practice some of that.
Okay. Are y'all getting this? See, I don't know when I'm going to be able to hang out with Paul again, because he is all over. I'm trying to catch these folks before they forget about the little people. I know he's not like that. I don't think he's going to do that. So we good. But do you all have any questions? We have 1 minute, and these are 30-minute segments, some tips for you of encouragement, but this is, get your questions answered. Even if we sign off, I'm sure he'll, log in and answer any questions that you may have, but please. Al-Shanithia says, me and my husband have coming to Jesus moments every Sunday. Open communication with listening ears. That's good. Yeah, because I don't think Jesus wants y'all fighting. And Tasha says, fear of rejection, fear of losing the relationship, and the fear of not being loved are all reasons why folks will sacrifice their needs. Yeah. And Francis lastly says, yes, because you want the relationship to work out, not approaching from a negative standpoint. So this is good information. All right, Paul, do you have any last minute things before you tell us where we can find you?
Go get the book.
Get the book, y'all.
Yes, it's on. Let me get it again.
Get it again. I got the book, so don't look at me. I got the book, and I got mine signed.
Dear Future Wife, a Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. A great Christmas gift. You can go on Amazon. You can go on my website to get it. I got a couple things coming up. I'll be, I was in Atlanta, but I'll be in Atlanta Wednesday for the brain spotting for clinicians of color. So I'll be there for a week to do that training.
Awesome.
And, I won't be home any weekend this month. Just working.
That's awesome. Any book signings in Atlanta while you're going to be there?
I am going to do something. I'm going to do a meet and greet. It's not going to be official book signing because the training is from 9 to 6, and then I'm going to be exhausted, so I need to debrief for a little bit. So I'm just going to hang out for a couple of hours on that Saturday night. Okay.
Are you going to post that?
Yeah, I will post it.
Okay, because a couple of people in Atlanta did ask me about it, but I didn't have any details, so I wanted you to share that.
Okay.
So once you post it, I'll share it with them as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And any new things coming up for you?
I'll be in LA to do something, shooting a couple shows. I'm working on some radio stuff locally, TV show, some other magazine stuff. It's just constantly going. I can't even, my brain is in a fog right now. I haven't even packed for Atlanta yet.
It's okay. You'll be all right. We have one more thing, and then I'm gonna let you go because I want to respect your time. Latasha says, any tips for singles?
I spend some time with yourself, and I know that's cliche. People say spend some time to get to know yourself. To get to know yourself in a place of relationship. Like, how would you want your relationship to be? How are you plan to show up in a relationship? Take your time, be honest, be open. Don't be afraid of somebody not being able to meet your needs. It's okay, because you don't want to get in a relationship and feel like you've been in this relationship with someone who doesn't meet your needs. So have those conversations early. I think we avoid the necessary conversations until it's too late. But I talk a lot about that in my book too, being a single person in this world of dating.
Thank you. Tasha, you got it. And Tasha says, can she get her book signed while you are in Atlanta?
Definitely. Definitely.
So awesome. 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 Paul, thank you so much again. I know I keep saying it, but you have showed up for me twice. I appreciate it. I'm grateful. We didn't know each other prior to this, but love your spirit. I love what you're doing. I appreciate you just showing up and just being just filled with humility and skill and ready to help people. So thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you.
And you guys, you got it here. These are your tips for December and 2020. Let's do it right.
All right.
Paul, thank you again.
No problem.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.